Welcome, everyone. We are going to be going over Q1 2021 with Mr. Jim McCarten of Triplemint. And I am Natalie Miniard, broker here at Triplemint. And we're in our Hoboken house, Triplemint house here in Hoboken, 331 Washington.
Which is amazing. Everyone should come and take a look, by the way.
That's right. We're here. Come say hi. So we figured we would go ahead and give you guys a little bit of an overview. Jim's going to be focusing a little bit on Hoboken. I'll run some very basic numbers of Hudson County and Jersey City just to give you guys an idea. Everybody seems to be trying to figure out what the heck is going on out there in the real estate market. So real quick, we are focusing a little bit, obviously, on Hudson County today. Jersey's got all kinds of good stuff going on, but Hudson County overall, year over year, we are up. So in Hudson County, the market, the total sales are up about 78% overall in Hudson County as a whole. Median list price has kind of stayed about the same. And the median sales price has gone up about 3 to 4% year over year in all of Hudson County, which we're going to get into this. You really have to dig into the specifics. The general is not going to give you as much information, but we do want to make sure that you understand that as well. So average sales price is up a little bit, about 3%. Average days on market are also going up a bit in Hudson County overall, and number of new listings from last year first quarter to this year first quarter is up about 33%. So that is a very general overall Hudson County, and we're going to dig in a little bit now with Hoboken. Jim, you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on here?
Absolutely. So nice to see everybody. I'm glad everybody's here today. Right now in Hoboken, there's 214 total condos for sale. 61 of them are one bedrooms, 101 of them are two bedrooms, and 31 are three bedrooms. Under contract, that's 57 in the last 60 days. I'm going 60 because the first part of the 90 days curve is a little bit skewed. So I'm using 60 for the current people that might be looking or planning on looking. Again, 57 under contract, one bedrooms, 89 two bedrooms, and 26 threes, with an absorption rate, which basically is if something comes on the market today, 30 days from now, it should be sold, or at least to be under contract. And it's been running that way for at least 60 days right now at a 1 absorption rate. Now on three bedrooms, it's trending a little bit more towards 1.25 months, maybe 45 days. And that is because the supply of new construction is starting to be bought up. So there is no more real new construction, with exception of a couple of projects going on uptown. And those average price on the three bedrooms are 1.3 million, 825,000 on twos, and 508,000 on average on ones. But the thing I wanted to point out is recently my team, we're getting people coming over still from the 5 boroughs, and some people that are selling their homes in the suburbs coming back to Hoboken to live in kind of a downsized type of an atmosphere instead of the big home in the suburbs. We're seeing a big difference between buildings with an elevator and buildings with walk-up. On a one bedroom, 500,000 average, and 554 with an elevator, 799 on the twos, 900,000 on a two bedroom. And of course, on the three bedroom, I would say 99% of them all are elevator buildings with parking, and they're still averaging between 1.25 and 1.3 million. One thing I did want to bring up is I just spoke to my accountant this morning because tax day is May 5th, the 17th. In the last week, I would tell you that I've probably gotten more investors calling up than in previous years at this particular time. Typically, April 15th is our tax day. And because it was extended due to COVID, there's a lot of people with a lot of cash. And because they haven't spent a dime in the last year, their credit cards are low, their credit scores are, I don't know about you, Nat, but I'm seeing credit scores like I've never seen before. High 7s and 8s on a lot of people. So, and they've cleaned it up and they've paid it down. And they're being advised by their accountants to kind of expand their portfolio and buy some real estate and put it in a portfolio. I wanted to touch on the Heights. In the Heights right now, there are 41 active two families on the market, which is the preferred configuration. 32 of them are under contract. That's pretty close. That's almost getting towards a 1 month supply, which is something now. And the average price on a two family in the Heights now, ready for this, is 825. That's very high. It used to be in the sixes. I know Natalie, she hangs out in the Heights and she has a lot of friends up there. I know that's a big jump, but that's because a lot of people are going. And I would tell you, of the 32, 15 of them are owner occupied and 15 of them are investors, which is telling us that a lot of the younger generation, instead of competing in Hoboken and Jersey City for these condos that are trending to sometimes 20 over, 30 over, depending on what you're putting down, they're buying two families on advice of the market. Some of us in the real estate business are telling them that. Live there, collect a rent, and your monthly cost will definitely average down, and there'll be no risk. And you'll have an asset in your portfolio going forward that with the regentrification happening in the Heights, we'll definitely appreciate. Nat, why don't you give a little more about downtown Jersey City?
Yeah, I actually want to touch on what you just said because I think it's really, really interesting. I've been following the Heights as well, and we are going to talk about downtown. But since you brought it up, the two family obviously makes a ton of sense. I feel like we've seen more activity with that because we've seen more building. There have been some, rougher houses that have been knocked down or some empty lots, and we're seeing those two families get built. A lot of the, with the garage on the first floor. What I see though too is a lot of those are now being condo converted almost instantly. So there's not as many opportunities for the two family, which is a great option for a lot of people, but they're being converted into two units and then sold separately. And so we're seeing a lot higher price per square foot in the Heights. One of the things I thought was really interesting, I read a little bit ago, is that condos, the average price or the median price has gone up like 63% over the last 3 years in the Heights. I think that that's because of all the new construction that we've seen in the Heights, where, it was kind of like the walk-up brownstone style condos. Now we have a lot of newer, more luxury condos that have hit the market at a higher price point. And so I think I was very surprised to see that huge jump in condo value.
And if I may just inject, the owner occupier, they're benefiting even more because they're moving in, they're getting the prevailing market rate. If they're investing, they're going to have to put a lot more down, and the rate could go up a little bit because it is in a second home or investment property. But owner occupies, it's a home run. I mean, I have clients that because of the rent, they're paying their taxes, and that's it. Their mortgage is being paid by the tenant upstairs.
Yeah,
which is a huge advantage.
Makes a lot of sense. And we're seeing people from other areas that would not have maybe thought about the Heights before are coming up here. The path has always been such a focus. It didn't seem to be as big of a concern during COVID. And so we've seen people come up to the Heights that would have otherwise not wanted to be so far from the path. Yep. Your options are you could certainly watch the path from some parts of the Heights, but the bus and people working from home, they're getting a little bit more space, plus the yards. So that's been a nice big boost for the Heights, where I also live and own there. So that's been good. So yeah, so let's see. So the downtown market, downtown Jersey City market, I pulled some numbers here. Pretty much we've seen prices tick back up to almost where they were pre-COVID. So quarter to quarter, the beginning of 2020, we're pretty much back there now and starting to go up already from those numbers. So the first quarter, we kind of leveled out, and I expect that we will continue to see that that volume go up. We're seeing a lot of people come over, like you said, from the boroughs, and once they come over here, they're a little bit more open to checking out other areas. It doesn't just have to be downtown. Once they come over the river, they seem to be a little bit more open to other areas, which has created a boost in Journal Square, Bergen Lafayette, obviously the Heights we've already spoken about. Other parts of Hudson County, Bayonne, Weehawken, Union City, we've seen a nice increase in activity in those areas, which is why we saw in the overall Hudson County market 78% increase in activity, total sales over the last year. So let's see, in downtown Jersey City, the first quarter, the median price point for studios went up about 3% to 410,000. So that was a little bit of a boost up from 2020, which was just 399. So not a huge jump, but staying pretty consistent. We're not seeing a huge change. So 3 to 5% in median prices. The days on market has gone up a little bit. We're definitely seeing, where maybe last year was 19 days on the market, on average for condos, we're seeing about 30 days. So not a huge jump. I mean, most of it's still within 30 days. We're seeing things move. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? One bedrooms ticked down a little, just like I said, maybe about 7%. And this is overall Jersey City downtown. So that's, if we're just being somewhat general with walk-ups and high rises with elevators, we're just kind of lumping everything in together. That's about 7%. But one of the things, Jim, you and I have talked about, and pretty much anybody that'll listen to us, right now, it's so important to speak to your real estate professional and dig into what you are specifically looking to purchase or to sell. These numbers that we give are often general, and what you're reading online and your headlines that you're seeing are very general. And if you're looking at a 3-bedroom, which was in a much higher demand last year than a 1-bedroom, your negotiation or the negotiability of that home is going to be a lot less on a 3-bedroom than if you were looking at 1-bedrooms. And we're still seeing that pretty much.
If I can jump in real quick.
I'd love it.
Part of that is there's a problem in the sense that people we sold to, we did an analytics the other day, my son and I, 5 to 7 years ago, they all want to sell. This is the spring market. This is where they start looking. They have their 2 children. Maybe they're having their 3rd. It's time to move from these properties. We sold them 5 to 7 years ago, but they're having a problem when we take them into the suburbs. They can't find what they're looking for. So, their husband and wife are both working. They're both professionals. Some are working from home. Some are in the office trending back. And they're telling us, Jim, you know what? We're going to stay because we're not spending $250,000 over list price to purchase a home that sometimes is not even there. So they know that they can sell their condo in Hoboken because they have equity from the past 5 to 7 years because they bought them much lower and it's appreciated. But they're asking, where am I going? There is no supply in the suburbs, and that's causing a lack of supply continuously that comes this time of year in this area.
100%. A lot of my sellers or would-be sellers, I guess, in Jersey City have had that exact thing. They've called me. They said, okay, we understand that our place is in high demand. This is probably the best time to try to sell. Certainly last fall, it was a bit of almost even a frenzy of people trying to come over from wherever, making sure they were in the right space and they had the room over winter for everybody. But it seems to have leveled out. We're not seeing quite the movement. The days on market are a little bit higher than they were last fall on 3-bedrooms. However, again, those owners are saying, great, well, where do we go? And there really isn't an option. They don't want to risk putting their place on the market and then being stuck having to take, something that they didn't really want, or, overpaying. Or
and an extension of that too, if I may, is we're starting to see the rentals starting to get activity as well, because people that can't find what they're looking for, whether it be first time or they're living in Manhattan and they want to move to the suburb, they can't find what they're looking for. So we'll rent for a year because their income, their demographic is a little bit higher. So they're saying, you know what, if I rent something for $3,500, it's not as bad as paying $100,000 or $200,000 over list. So I'll wait a while. Now, is it smart? Is it the right thing to do? Wait. Well, rates, we all feel rates are going to stay pretty much at least for 12 months in this general vicinity. But going forward, some of our, people that we get, my vertical is the financial district. They're saying in a year and a half from now, they see there'll be more supply. Those people will be able to move. There'll be a lot of 55 and older retirements are being built all over the Southeast, Southwest. The people holding on to these suburb homes that don't have a place to go, they will eventually have a place to go, and they'll be for sale. And these people will trend to that and buy it at market rate, which might be a little bit up from now, but not to the irrational exuberance that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, the other thing with that is these people that do want the larger homes, I mean, developers just haven't been building big homes. I mean, most of the new construction, certainly the rental buildings, you're not getting a 1,500 square foot 3-bedroom in a rental building. So then, and even in the condo buildings, I mean, I think Gulf Cove, where I do so much business, I think there were all of, in the first phase, 323 homes. There were like 5 true 3-bedrooms. There were 2+ dens. And we had very large homes. There just wasn't, the building is always a little bit lagged from the demand. And so, now we need these big 3-bedrooms, 2+ dens, large 2-bedrooms, and they just haven't been built. So again, if people aren't moving, there's no activity to move them into, to move a new person in. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where we go from here as we are entering a spring market.
Which circles back again to what you were saying before, how important it is right now to have a realtor and to have someone that's really on the ground, understanding what's going on and able to give you those real-time numbers, because we're seeing it, in the last couple of weeks, it's changed dramatically in all aspects of real estate. So having someone that is going to be able to give you real-time information and advise you on that particular, whatever that purchase might be, is paramount right now.
And as a seller, to really understand what your leverage is as well, your specific property that you have to sell. Again, people read headlines and they think, oh, wow, it's a seller's market, I'm rocking and rolling. Well, again, if you're maybe not as desirable of a smaller unit, which is not what is flying off the shelves at the moment, you might have a false sense of how quickly you're going to be able to sell that or where it should be priced. So yes, as realtors, we do try to give you as much good information right off the bat. So where do you think the next quarter is going to take us, Jim?
Well, I don't see much change. The rates where they are, and as long as they stay pretty much here, there's going to be buyers. Like I said, depending on where the purchase is, like we talk about, very specific where it is, it's money is cheap. I mean, if you can find something, that's the magic word. If you can find a property and you have good finance and you're putting 20% down, my clients, at least the people I've been working with in the last month, have been able, with a little bit longer viewing time, have been able to find their property. Now, their criteria, we always say the 5 wants and needs. It's always price, it's always location. Then it becomes, do I want a home? Do I want a condo? So those 3 things are standard, but the extra 2 things, like I have to have a backyard, or I have to have a den, or I have to have an elevator building, that criteria is becoming a little bit more flexible, because people, if they're really, really diligent and they have to have certain things, they may not find it, or it's going to take longer. But if you're a little more flexible with your selection process, I think we're going to continue on this path going forward. I think, like I said, in Hoboken, Jersey City, and Hudson County, we're still seeing people coming. They can't find the single family homes anymore. I always tell people, when COVID hit and everything settled and the vaccine started coming out, they jumped right over us, where normally they would come from the 5 boroughs to us here along the river and stay for 5 to 6 years, start their family, and then buy the single family. They went right to the single family homes because they were all told for the next 18 months to 2 years, you will be working virtual.
Right.
But now with that supply drying up, they're trending back, and they have been, and buying a condo because they see things are calming down and maybe coming back to some normalcy. So it's not a bad investment at this point with rates so low. And again, I hate to say it, I have investors calling me from overseas saying, Jim, as long as I don't lose any money, I want to buy something that'll bring me and pay my monthly, because they need to park some cash for the time being. But so to answer your question, I see it staying this way. I see prices increasing, especially through the spring somewhat. It's a little more because it is. Just because it's spring, prices go up. We all know that.
Yep. You are.
But I do think through the summer, as opposed to the past years, with the exception of COVID, summer we kind of slowed down and then came into the fall. I
Mhm.
think we're going to continue to be quasi spring market through the entire summer.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel the same?
I do. I do. I feel like the timing is just, it's not what we're used to, because it's not about school. It's not about getting back to work. It's just when the right thing comes on the market, when someone decides to sell, it's going to have activity. People are out there. There's enough buyers out there that, you know, when you're ready to list, when it makes sense for you as a seller to list, you're going to have someone buying that home.
Right.
And, you know, having a little bit of flexibility as a buyer is also important. You know, one of the interesting things I saw in downtown Jersey City for single families, because we're talking about single families, in 2018, there were only about 28 single families that even came on the market and sold in downtown Jersey City. And the price point was around 1.2. And if you know, well, you know, the reval happened in 2018. 40 were on the market the next year, and the price had dropped to under $1 million, was the median, just under $1 million. With COVID in 2020, it actually brought us back to basically 2018 numbers for single families, and actually about the same amount. I think it was 27, 28 homes sold, single families in downtown, and almost right back to the 1.2. So even despite those taxes adjusting quite a bit, again, because of the people pouring over from other areas or needing that space, they saw that as a must. It brought the single families back up.
I think also in Hoboken, schools have been open. The superintendent here had the schools open, and with all the CDC regulations, parents were being careful. I think that actually brought more people over here too, because a lot of parents wanted their kids back at school for a lot of different reasons. They're working from home. So as long as schools continue to open, which we expect them by the fall to be open, not to get political, but to see that there will be some, you know, whether it's a hybrid or a full-time, children will be going back to school. That's another piece that will play in, because I'm getting that question: are the schools open? Whether it be Hoboken, whether it be one of the other Hudson County towns, or even my business in the suburbs, I need to know if the schools are opening.
Yeah.
That's a big question. So there's some towns that we're not sure of, and
Mhm.
people are saying, I don't want to look there. I'm not going to mention them, but that's going to play into real estate as well.
I'm curious to see, as the New York City leases are coming available, as people are able to get out of their apartments in New York City, for the people that were not allowed, you know, obviously landlords weren't letting them out if, you know, they had a lease. So now, as we're going in the spring and summer, are those people going to be making moves? I'm seeing it already. We're seeing people coming over, even if they are still renting, because we never, you know, we didn't really shut down ever completely in downtown Jersey City. Certainly, you know, we had some sort of outdoor seating, restaurants. There was some kind of activity where they did get really shut down completely in New York City. I think I'm curious to see if that spurs even more activity for us. You know, maybe they're not quite ready to go out to the burbs because there's a different demographic, right? That'll want to stay still close to the city. We're already starting to feel like we're coming out of it with the vaccine and whatnot. So, you know, I'm curious to see if the one bedrooms in the studios that kind of were a little stagnant, if we start seeing more activity with those, because people are now getting out of their leases in New York and they're open. I wonder also with Jersey City and Hoboken, you know, people now are open to it that maybe weren't even thinking about it before. And so it's now more of an option. More of their friends, their coworkers have already moved over. We've seen this in the past with other things in history where we got a little bit of a boost because of something that happened in New York City where people were pushed over this way.
Sure.
So I think I'm curious to see if that affects us. Another thing, Jim, I thought was interesting, because I know you love talking about Hoboken here, is the amount of actual transactions that happened in 2020 in Hoboken. We had 760 condos sell in Hoboken, a mile square town. Downtown Jersey City saw 470 condos sell. That was really surprising to me because downtown Jersey City is so much larger. I just would assume there was more activity, and Hoboken
Great.
is crazy.
Great question. Well, two things I think, and we covered actually both of them, but in brief. One is the larger condos, the 3-bedroom configuration. Because the schools were open, we saw people come out of Manhattan with 2
Right.
children or 2.5 children coming here and not really questioning the price, but this, because the schools were open, they moved in relatively quick. The 2-bedroom configuration, we've seen very much increase in that because a lot of those people, as soon as COVID came, they immediately at the very beginning of it bolted, called up and said, listen, sell my condo now. I'm going to the suburb. They got ahead of that curve.
Right.
And the ones, believe it or not, we all know this, when COVID hit, a lot of the people that were living in ones, whether they be investment properties or owner occupied, they were single people, okay? And they went back home to mom or home to a relative and got out of town because they weren't sure what was going to happen. And as their leases expired, our inventory on 1-bedrooms increased twofold, and sometimes at a certain point, threefold. Those the price point on those dropped considerably, and smart money came in and bought them up like crazy.
Yeah.
And so that all of that together increased the amount of volume and of course we had new construction going on uptown and on the backside of Hoboken, some 15-unit, 5/1, 7/1, 15/1. They all were new construction. And as you know, new construction just gets, as long as it's providing people with all the new hottest items and everything, the demographic here is buying them up like crazy.
Look, Hoboken has 4 bedrooms. Hoboken sold 15 4-bedrooms last year. Jersey City had none, the downtown anyway. So, it does appear that Hoboken has, even in 2019 and 2018, I mean, there just were not a lot of 4-bedrooms that moved at all in Jersey City downtown, which kind of speaks to how are builders building? What are they building for here in Hoboken? And I'm sure it was Maxwell that had a lot to do with that. But to see, 29 4-bedrooms sold in 2019, that's just unusual compared to Jersey City, downtown Jersey City.
Yep.
Even with all the new construction.
Yep.
Almost none. 0 in 2020, 2 in 2019, and a total of 6 in 2018 in downtown Jersey City.
If I may, also, we've been focusing a lot on downtown Hoboken and the Heights. If we just expand into West New York, Union City, Guttenberg, Weehawken, I have never in the last, I'll say 10 months, have never did so many deals in a shorter period of time as in those towns. They became a little bit more affordable. The rents popped completely. So if you're an investor buying a 3-family or 2-family, the rents used to be 16, 17. Now they're trending towards 19 and 2,000 a month, which is a big, if you're running it on a cap rate, your cap rate is jumping considerably. And like I said, a lot of people, their 401ks, just from a psychological point, their accounts, they're looking at them on their phone every day, and they're in good shape. So to take a little bit of risk in those areas that weren't as attractive, it's not a big risk anymore, because the rents eventually, once this whole cycle, we know everything's a cycle, rents will increase here like they always did. If you're owning a property in the Union City, Weehawken, or away off the river in West New York, you're going to have tenants all the time, because the younger crowd, as they get more, as employment increases in the area, whether it be virtual or in the office, you will have more people, 2 people sharing a 1-bedroom den or a 2-bedroom for, let's say, 900 a piece. That's cheap to live right near the river. So those areas are getting a lot more activity. You're seeing a lot more construction going on. The builders that were building in this area downtown, they've expanded up. They bought property there 3-4 years ago in a block, maybe 4 or 5 homes and a building. Those towns, because the ratables, they're letting them build 30 units with parking off because they want the cars off the street. And the rents are all $2,100 a month for brand new 2-bedrooms, 22, 23. And then as you get bigger, they go up. But I think those areas are getting a lot more of attention as well.
100%. I mean, because we're seeing that Hoboken and Jersey City didn't go crazy, and yet the actual total sales went up 78% in Hudson County total. last year. So it makes a lot of sense that these other areas, because people are having to be creative, they're also having their conversations with their realtors, and they're saying, well, look, we want all these things, and their realtors are saying to them, well, probably not going to get that here in Hoboken. You're probably not going to get that in downtown Jersey City. Why don't we go check out Union City, where we can probably get that for you? And it's opening up those other areas for people. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
I'm going to close with this, and I know we talked about this the other day. If you're coming to purchase or rent, but purchase a home or a condo or whatever it might be, people used to start 3 months out. I think you need to expand that to 4 months. And I say that because there's a lot more preparation involved, because people are they're jumping when they focus on one area. As they see that that's not necessarily happening for them, they jump to another area, which is normal. But I think you need a lot more time in preparation. If your credit is good, you have to come up with a game plan.
Right.
You need to have people in place. You should be talking to your realtor. You should be interviewing lenders, attorneys, all, because if you have that in place and you're going competitive in any market, you're going to be way more prepared. Because again, in the suburbs, I just talked to an attorney before this call. In the suburbs, appraisals are falling apart lately because they're going so far over, and people are, coming back and say, well, wait a minute. I thought it would, well, it doesn't appraise. So now you have to bring that balance of what your down payment above it to the closing. And if it's a home inspection issue, because they're making you pay so much more over it's a seller's market. So now it comes to home inspection, and buyers are saying, well, I want a credit for that, and I want a credit for that. And it's making the deal expand a little bit longer. So preparation, I think, is even paramount right now if you want a successful experience. I think that's the best advice I could give right now.
Make sure you have a good team, so that when you go in, you can go in strong. When the right property does hit the market, you need to not, don't hesitate. You need to feel confident enough that you've done your research, you've got the right people in place, that you can make that move.
And oh, by the way, Triplemint, we have a great team.
We do have a great team.
Thank you.
Jim McCarten, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
We'll probably continue this conversation after we get off the phone here, or the computer here. Again, thank you to Hoboken Girl, Triplemint House at 331 Washington. And if anyone needs any real estate help at all, we are here for you. There's someone here usually every single day. Check out our market reports. Our marketing department does a beautiful job with them, and they send them out. If you don't have them, reach out to us. They break them down for the Hudson County market. They break it down for all the neighborhoods in Jersey City, Hoboken, and all the rest of Hudson County.
Start your search or your sale early.
Yes. Call us.
Best advice I could give: early, sooner than later.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next month. All right. Thanks, Jim.